So let me fast forward to Monday, and then we can go in and ask some questions about this or some of the other. Well, I'll do Sunday night just to bring in one little other theme. Sunday night, Barbara Barrett, who's the wife of Craig Barrett, who's the just stepped down chairman of Intel, and who herself was ambassador to Finland until the change of administration last, whenever it was, January. She is now the backup cosmonaut to the founder of Cirque du Soleil. So she's taking over the role that I had for 5 months from last October to March. She's living in Star City, which is an old-style Soviet closed city, and learning how to go into space. So we had this great dinner, and she asked me where were the classrooms, because there's no map. If you ask for a map, they say it's secret. She had with her a printout of her schedule for this week, which they give you every Friday night. And so if you're a business person trying to juggle your training with phone calls and things like that, it's extremely difficult. And that was a nice little interlude. I brought her along with me to the civil society reception that was happening at the same time. Being an ambassador, she was extremely poised and perfect and knew some of the people there, and it was a wonderful mingling of worlds, which of course is really what was happening this whole week in Moscow. So Monday morning, the Civil Society Summit started late, as you can imagine, but everybody more or less showed up. Meanwhile, the business community in Russia was always also trying to have its little business summit along with Obama's visit, and rumor had it that they had moved their venue from the Ritz to another building nearby because of some disagreements with the government. The guy whose board meeting I attended on Thursday was one of the speakers, but it wasn't clear who the other speakers were. In the end, they had 24 speakers, 2 minutes each. And then one from each side actually reported a summary of those talks to Obama and Medvedev on Tuesday afternoon. And what I heard was that Obama was falling asleep during this report. Meanwhile, we were trying to do some productive work on Monday, and the healthcare session was, again, this sort of bilateral summit between the medical establishment and these public health people who think that healthcare or health doesn't begin in hospitals. It begins at home with what you eat, what you drink, whether or not you smoke. The male life expectancy in Russia is something like 58 years. It's really scary. So we had a full and frank discussion, and then we actually came up with some projects. One thing I suggested, which I thought was very useful, was that any project should have both a statement of work, a person or persons responsible, and a date. That was really innovative, but I think it was useful. So finally, on Tuesday, Obama was supposed to come by at 2:30, and then it was 4:30, and anyway, it ended up being at 5:30, and it was really wonderful. I don't know how many of you read the New York Times coverage that basically the Russians weren't that impressed with Obama, weren't that interested, and unlike in Cairo, for example, where it was just amazing. To be candid, he fell sort of flat. And I know the reporter who wrote the piece, and I think she's accurate. But this was a different audience, and it was really quite magical. First of all, the setup here was originally going to be that 4 of us were going to speak, and I was one of the lucky ones chosen for 4 minutes each, and then Obama would ask us some questions and deliver a little talk. But because he was so late, they decided that each of us, we would speak, and he would just come in at some point during the talks and then listen to the last talk, which was by a friend of his, Calvin Holmes, who does housing and community development in Chicago. And then he would give his talk, but it would be somewhat abbreviated. So I was the lucky one who got to go first, and I was pretty sure my talk would be over by the time he showed up. But he actually showed up in the middle of my talk, which they then suggested I conclude. So I missed my final punchline, which was something you've already probably heard. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I'm sure you've heard it before too. So he came in and said, I want to find out whether or not this was in the script. He said, it's clear one reason we need community organizers is because you can't rely on politicians. They're always late. And that got a nice laugh from this audience of community organizers. He was short but stunning, and these guys loved him because, of course, it was community organizer to community organizers. For them, he was a model of what they could do. He was a model of the government they wish they had. But some of these people are threatened with regular tax inspections, and one of the healthcare people said that he had gone to the healthcare ministry to work on a project and had been asked for a bribe. So it's a very, how should we say, it's a struggling community who are also 25% effective, but they're motivated and they have some purpose in life, and they're just a wonderful bunch of people. And I felt really proud to be an American and to have my president talking to these guys. So with that, let me see what you'd like. Yeah, great.
I have a question.
And say who you are. Most people know everybody here, but probably not everybody. So.
My name is Michelle Fishman, and I wanted to ask you, based on the summit, there's a lot of talk about the reason Russia isn't only 25% effective is because it is so corrupt. How do you see Russia getting out of this corruption when so many people are discouraged from going anywhere, together or alone, because they're just like this man who couldn't pay the bribe?